Okay, Chodesh Tov. It's Rosh Chodesh Sivan, which is unbelievable. And we have to obviously mention something about Shavuot. Since the main topic of this lesson is Simcha, is doing mitzvot b'simcha, and how Simcha is really the key for getting out of what Rabbeinu calls Hechalat Morot, the exchange chambers. Exchange chambers is a term for basically all the crazy things you go through in life. We call that exchange chambers. All the difficulties of chinuch of children, shalom bayit, parnasa, health, that's in Gashmi. And then in Ruchani, all the setbacks and failures in Avodat Hashem, not getting up at Chatzot, not getting up, not being a warrior, not being mitgaber on the Tavot, and learning and davening and being the person that you want to become, at tzaddik, everything. So all these setbacks and failures and the feelings because of that, that's all called Hechalat Mort. And Rabbeinu says in this lesson, believe it or not, the key to get out of everything is Simcha. It's not just like a patch, like we said. We're saying this, stressing this again and again. It's not a patch. Okay, in the meantime, just put on this patch with some iodine until you get better. This itself, Rabbeinu teaches us, is the healing. So before we get into it, I don't want to forget this story. On Shavuot, the custom is we're up all night, and the attitude really is an attitude of simcha. And in Breslov history, it was very known, and it's still today. It's a custom that in the middle of saying the tikkun, what happens in most shuls and in the rest of shuls, everybody gets together to learn all night. In the yeshivas, I remember they're learning all types of gemaras and everything. But those who try to follow more the Arizal, they do the tikkun. It's called tikkun el Shavuot, right? There's the whole story in the Shlach Kadosh, and from the Arizal, what to say. It's from the Zohar, really, right? So in rest of circles, how it is that everyone's busy doing the learning, and in the middle they take a break to dance. They dance even twice. Okay, the dance can go on for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Rav Shmuel Shapira was known as someone who was always careful on what he said and on what he was doing. He would invest a lot of time in these dances on the night of Shavuot. Even though people are like, no, I have to get, there's a lot to read. There's a lot to do on the Tikkun of Shavuot. Some have the Mishnah to do. You have the Zohar. You have the Chumash, right? You have the Gemaras, the Midrash. There's all types of things to say. It's a big book, okay? And people are, I want to finish already by the end of the night, especially in Israel time where the summer nights are shorter. So you want to catch up and everything, right? So Rav Shmuel Shapira, even if he wouldn't finish the Tikkun at night, the main thing would be to have a joyous attitude, to receive the Torah with simcha. Be positive. So it was known about him that when they would get up to dance, the Breslovers, he would stop and dance as long as it would take. He wouldn't now just rush back to saying his tikkun because I have to finish. Yeah, people like that. They're no, I have to finish. Yeah, people don't even dance because they want to finish the tikkun already. But Rosh Moshe Shapira knew that the attitude is to be besimcha. And this dance is meant to help, and it does help. When everyone's getting up and dancing, it's Yom Tov, it's the night of Shavuot, the 50th gate after 50 days, Sfirta Omer, finally getting to this goal of Kabbalat Torah on the 50th level, etc. So it is a happy occasion, but to feel it, not just to go crazy. Oh, we're still going on. This is part of the Hachana. So Simcha is a big, big thing, and he would complete the Tikkun during the day. I know people they can't finish. The Sfardim they do a whole Ijra Rabbah. You know how big the Ijra Rabbah is? It's humongous. It's a lot. You can't do it by one person in 1 hour. It takes 3, 4, 5 hours. So some people they finish it on the first day of Yom Tov. And first day of Yom Tov, people are exhausted because they're up all night. And here in Yerushalayim, we have a lot to do. We go to the Kotel, we go to David HaMelech. There's a lot to do in Yerushalayim on Yom Tov and Shavuot. There's a lot of kedusha. It's packed. It's packed. It's a busy day if you're in Yerushalayim. To go to the Kotel, David HaMelech's yahrzeit, right? So to make up also on Isru Chag, it's another day to make up. Fine? But the thing is the idea of the Simcha B'ezat Hashem. So I just wanted to stress that point, that on Shavuot, above everything else, is to have a happy attitude. Rabbeinu, he praised the Akdamot, and he said about the Nigun, that they sing the Akdamot, the Jewish people are spoiled, and they don't know how powerful is the Akdamot with the Nigun, he would say. And when saying this, Rabbeinu also would go over the Nigun, all this in order to instill, Rav Nosson writes this somewhere, the happiness that we have received the Torah, that Hashem chose us amongst all the nations in the world to give us the Torah, which is the blueprint of the whole creation. He gave us the blueprints. He gave us the on key, this on key for the entire creation. He gave us Hashem. It's in the Torah, Baruch Hashem. And He gave it to us. So we have to be extremely happy, the Simcha. Okay. I'm going to say another story that strengthens much more this theme. Okay, the main pasuk Rabbeinu brings that simcha is the key is the pasuk we say ki besimcha tetzeu v'shalom tuvalun. Ki besimcha tetzeu. It's very simple. In joy, you get out. Get out of what? Whatever you're stuck in. That's the perspective Rabbeinu brings this pasuk in lesson 24. Ki besimcha tetzeu. You want to leave the realm of the Hechal HaTmuot, the exchange chambers, which is whatever you're trapped in. You're stuck in a big rut. You can't get shidduchim now for your kids. You're stuck. Parnasa issues, health issues, shalom bayit issues, and you don't know what to do. And you're running from one person to another or one thing when you don't know what to do, and you feel you tried everything, and even if you didn't try everything, you're just drained to try even more. Where's the answer? It's right next to you. It's what? It's having a simcha attitude, specifically when you're doing Torah and Tefillah. When you're davening, not to be overburdened. Oh, how could I daven with all these things on my head? I'm doing a wedding next week and this and that. How could I daven properly with everything? I'm just crazy. I have to call this guy, I have to call that guy. And who says it's going to work out and this is not working out and the catering is not like I want it to be or whatever. So, ki besimcha tetzeu. It's now whatever I'm doing now, throw in myself. Simcha will give the solution. Rabbeinu's famous analogy on this. Another story we gave last week about Rav Elimelech and Rav Zusha, which is an amazing example. But Rabbeinu also brings us an amazing example. It's a famous story, and we have to tell the story again. It's the story of a clay digger in Russia. His job was to dig clay and to sell it in the shuk. People would use clay for whatever they needed, whatever things. Clay is like the better quality mud that not everybody can get to. So his job was to dig it and to pack it up, and he would sell it in the marketplace. And once he came across a big diamond, a big mamash jewel deep inside. He cleaned it. He saw it was humongous. He went to the local jeweler in his village where he was in Russia, and he said, "I don't know how much it costs. It's humongous. I can't give you an appraisal." So they said, where can I get this? He said, well, the best place is in London. That's the biggest world diamond exchange in the whole world. Go there. So he's seen that money was on his way. He sold his house. He sold everything to buy tickets to go by boat and by whatever means in order to get to England, to London. By the time he got to the European end of the continent, and now what's needed is to take a last boat to get to England, his money ran out. So he saw a ship and a captain, and he showed him the diamond. He says, look here, my money is in this diamond. He sees he has money, it's in the diamond. I'm like, I can't give you the diamond. It's worth much more than a fare to pay for the ferry to go across to England. But I promise you, as soon as we get to England, I will sell this and I will pay you whatever price it is. He said, no problem. He gave him the best suite he had in the ship, took care of him and everything. And the captain spent time with this Jew, obviously, Rabbeinu says, and admiring the diamond and his good fortune that's waiting him. And once he had a meal, and he would keep, always when eating, he would keep the diamond on the table to be happy looking at it, and he dozed off. And one of the sailors, whoever, the guys who come to clean the room, clean the mess up, he didn't notice the diamond because there was so much food and garbage on the table. He didn't notice the diamond, and it was like a regular tablecloth that he took on the four corners and shook off all the garbage into the sea, okay, including the diamond. And the Jew in the meantime had dozed off because he ate a good meal. He had whatever bread or whatever they gave him to eat, what he was allowed to eat. So he woke up and he saw the table was clean. Where's the diamond? And he figured out what happened. That they came to clean the table, and he's asked the people, where's the diamond? What diamond are you talking about? We didn't see anything. He understood what happened. What did you do for the mess? We threw it into the sea. He started to fret. He said, my life is over. This captain, if I don't pay him, he's going to kill me. For sure he's going to kill me. He doesn't look like he's such a nice guy. He looks like a really bad guy. So he was plutzing, my life is over, it's finished, I'm doomed, I'm dead, everything is over, goodbye, thank you for everything in life, it's finished. And he thought to himself, what can I do now that can help me at least to possibly give me hope and an opening for salvation? So he said to himself, I will be happy now. I will pretend as if everything is fine and put on a happy face and be in a very, very happy mood. Maybe this will save me. He didn't know how. I don't understand how. But he said, maybe this can give an opening. So he was building himself up to be positive and happy and showing as if everything was okay. And the captain came. He was expected to come because he would come very frequently to speak with this Jew, to sit down and talk to him and schmooze with him and everything. And he came a few times, and he said he'll come back at a certain time. He came, and the captain had like a serious but submitted face. He said to the Jew, "Listen," and the Jew was like worried. He said, "Listen, I see you're a good, honest man. I want to ask you a very big favor. This is a very big ship, and I have tons of loads of wheat, which is distributed, sold throughout England. It's a lot of produce, and the value." He said that's what the Rabbeinu says in the story. It's much more than the value of your diamond. I want you to do me a favor. When I come in normally with such a big amount of produce to bring in, because I'm the captain, I'm the owner of this stuff, so the tax on me is much more. Because it's a ship and I'm the one bringing it in. The law is if it's under a private person, there's much less taxes, almost nothing. Can I ask you a favor that we sign officially that everything is under your name? And then when we cross the border, then you'll give me back the zchuyot, the that it's the authority on and the ownership of this cargo. The Jew said to himself, "Thank God, this could be my opening." Okay, so they signed and everything. They get to the border. While crossing through the border into England, and they do the border control comes on the ship to see what's there, and they check all the papers. Son of the captain had like a heart attack. He just fell and died on the spot, leaving all the wheat under the ownership of this Jew. So Rabbeinu finished the story saying like this: the diamond really, really, be'emet lamito, did not belong to the Jew. Proof being, it was taken away from him. It didn't stay with him. The wheat, however, in the end, according to the real truth, did belong to the Jew. Proof being that that's what he ended up with in life. And how did he get to what was really his in life? By being besimcha. Okay? That's the message also in this lesson. That for a person to get what really belongs to him, what really belongs to a Jew, is holiness, is kedusha. We're going to see in this lesson very deep things. It's really scary, this lesson, how far it's going. I had to do some research on Rai Kaplan's Inner Space in order to understand these concepts of Kabbalah that we're going to go into. But these deep things we're going to go into, which is the goal of life in this world, this is where a Jew really belongs. How does a Jew get to what belongs to him? What belongs to a Jew is dveikut, connection with God. What belongs to a Jew is constant feeling positive and growing of awareness of Hashem. That's what belongs to a Jew. What belongs to a Jew is constant joy also about his mitzvot and a positive attitude. What belongs to a Jew is accessibility to the whole Torah at every level, at all times. What belongs to a Jew is prayer with kavana. All these things belong to a Jew. That's what really belongs to every Jew. That's what Hashem wants every Jew to come to eventually. But a person is trapped in the exchange chambers, always this to bring him down, and this that to bring him down. Everything is just to distract the person, take him away. How do I get out of that and eventually come to what's really mine? Rabbeinu says in this lesson, it's the idea of simcha. Okay? So now, Rabbeinu, before he opens up to us the idea of simcha, he starts introducing to us the makeup of man in this world, how it works, and how Hashem made the essence of a Jew in his attitude in life. We'll explain this idea. Before this, we need a major introduction. The introduction of the makeup of the spiritual essence of a Jew. So the Arizal, the Kabbalah, the Zohar, they explain that a Jew has 5 types of neshamot, 5 types of souls. Okay? Going from down to up, it starts nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida. Nefesh is known as like the lower soul. Ruach is the spirit. Neshama is the upper soul. Chaya is what's called the living essence. And yechida is the one unique essence. Okay? These 5 are divided into 2 groups. There are what called transcendental makifim levels, which we have no contact and connection with whatsoever right now. Those are the upper 2. This chaya and yechida, they're transcendent. They will be revealed to us when Mashiach comes fully. B'ezrat Hashem, that's when they will begin. Until now, we have no direct connection to them whatsoever. They're somewhere present, but we have no access to them at all. So they're called transcendent levels. The lower three, the nefesh, ruach, neshama, are called internal, inner levels accessible. We can, if we try really hard, access our nefesh, our ruach, and neshama. All activity happening in our life is coming from the lower soul, the spirit, and the upper soul. But to have good contact with them and to have perceptions, what the neshama sees, what the nefesh sees, what the ruach sees, and that perception, and to be really in tune with them, a Jew has to work really hard. You have all types of people, they have visions, and they get people who are not religious, not even Jewish, and they have visions and perceptions and everything. It could be, it's fine and dandy, but it's not grounded. It's not grounded that the person has a true connection to his nefesh, ruach, and neshama. Also, there's influence from the evil side to make it distorted by people. All these funny stories that people have, especially unfortunately about chuvas, or people, I had a vision of angels and this and that. It sounds okay, bravo, very nice. If it's real or not, I don't know. But we know that a person is not observing the Torah and not working on themselves to make a major commitment to Hashem. We can be almost 100% sure that what they're getting message is not from the side of holiness. It's coming from some other domain, some other realm. So not to be impressed. Also, Rav Nosson would tell people, people come tell him about the dreams they had. Rav Nosson would say to them, stop telling me what you do when you sleep. Tell me what you do when you're awake. Tell me what you do when you're awake and when you're sleeping, okay? I saw this and I saw that. The person wants to conduct it based on the dreams, there's no end. Well, the dreams that they did determine, who are you to have good dreams, first of all? Where were you holding? In any event, that's a nefesh, ruach, neshama. These are the lower three that we have access to. Rai Kaplan, he's nicely, very clearly in his book Inner Space, he explains the analogy of all five levels. An analogy used by the Etz Chaim and Rav Chaim Vital and other Kabbalists of what's called a glass blower. There's an analogy of a glass blower. Glass blower is someone who makes vessels by blowing into them. Okay, it's glass, it's heated up, and then they blow into it and they make shapes based on that. So in a glass blower, believe it or not, there's 5 levels. There's, for example, the intent, the thought of the man, the craftsman called the glass blower to do what he wants to do, to blow into glass. Number 2, it's the actual breath within him that he has in order to begin, in order to be able to do glass blowing, you have to have breath, you have to have air. That's the air within him. Then there's the initial blowing into the glass, the actual air coming out into the glass that he wants to blow into. That's 3. Number 4 is the actual movement of the air filling up the glass. And number 5, finally, when the shape, the desired shape has been reached of the glass blower, of how he wants to have the glass shaped, he stops, and that's when the air rests where it is, and then that forms, the glass hardens and takes the shape of that final decision. Here, these 5 stages correspond to, from up to the bottom, Yechida, Chaya, Neshama, Ruach, Nefesh. Okay? Yechida is the initial oneness, the thought of making glass blowing. Okay? It's like Hashem wanting to fill up the world, to create a world. That's the idea. That's the initial idea. That's connected to the Yechida. That's why it's oneness. It's called Yechida because it's connected to the oneness of the initial thought of Hashem to create the world. Boom. Creation. To make creation, that's a one unique thought. In creation itself, there's 5 billion particles, whatever, ideas and species, etc. But it's one unit of called creation. That's the idea of the Yechida. Chaya is the life force that Hashem shows exists to create, because Hashem created the world. He has something inside of him to bring out in the creation. Even that itself, Hashem is way beyond that, because Hashem created even matter, created chayut. With Hashem, there's no term of chaya, life, and not life. It's like Hashem is above all this. But for us to understand, just like in the glass blower analogy, there has to be some breath that's available to go in. So to Hashem shows us that He created the world. The word for creating, doing by Hashem, it's like Hashem is beyond that. It's a term that we can understand, that Hashem has an action, asiyah, Hashem, bidvar Hashem shamayim na'asu, that Hashem can actually do. It's way above us, that term. But we can understand that. This is the idea of a glass blower having the breath to be able to do the creation of the glass items. Then the actual blowing in initially is the neshama, the upper soul, and then the air filling up is the ruach, the spirit, and then the final shape that it takes is nefesh. So neshama is from the breath. It's called from the word neshima. Okay, ruach is movement. Ruach doesn't. When you say ruach, wind, spirit. We translate it as spirit, but it's also translated as wind. Wind connotes movement. It's not like stagnant. Ruach means there's wind, there's movement. That's the idea of ruach moving. Okay, and then the Jewish person also, they say the ruach is the air in the blood system. If you want to have a physical correlation to where the ruach is, it's in the blood system. That it's the oxygen that goes back and forth. Okay, and then nefesh is like shavat vayinafash, rest, taking rest. The nefesh is okay, it's settled, being settled. That now I'm settled. That's the nefesh. That you can see a person's spiritual essence is settled within him. Okay, that's the nefesh. The nefesh expression in human being is that the nefesh is available and noticeable in the person to his actions and activities, his movement in his life. That's the nefesh. That's showing the presence of the wind, the spirit, the upper spirits, all these levels within him. So we have access to these three only, because these three from nefesh, ruach, neshama are from the point that the craftsman, the glass blower, he lets out air until it fills up the glass. We see these things. What's inside of him, I don't see the air within him. I don't see his thought to make the glass. Those are beyond me. What I have access to is, I see now the air is going in, filling up, and then it stops. I see that. So we have access to what's called nefesh, ruach, neshama. All these 5 levels, they are directly connected to Hashem, period. It's something amazing. Hashem created this physical world. World is called in Hebrew olam. Olam means also ha'alama, concealment. Hashem is concealed in this world. How do you see Hashem in this world? Only through the spiritual. Only someone who has some inkling of spiritual connection can see Hashem. You take someone who has emunah, and you take him to see the mountains and the trees, the Swiss Alps and everything, or Meron or whatever, he just by seeing nature will see that there's a God. What will we say? Marabu Masecha Hashem Yishtabach Shemo. Unbelievable how Hashem, he'll automatically attribute Hashem to the creation, and he uses the creation he sees as a means to recognize Hashem is behind all this. Okay? What's doing that? Only because he has a nefesh and ruach and neshama. Only because he has a spiritual essence does it enable him to recognize that. An atheist, let's say, who's like pro-atheist, he'll take a vacation to go to Monaco, to go to the mountains, to go to the Poconos, wherever, and he'll enjoy, relax in nature, but he may not admit to God's existence. Hashem may send a person, because everybody has a nefesh. Everybody has, even a goy has at least a dormant, minimal nefesh, okay? Everyone, Hashem can send a message that God is behind all this. He has to be behind all this. But other people will try to push it off. And they choose a life of denial, of deniance of spirituality of Hashem. So they don't see anything. But a believing person, even a goy, all the more so a Jew, can use nature to see that God is behind this. Okay? 30 missiles are coming your way, and not one hits you. So a person says, it's coincidence, it was the timing and everything. But the believing person, through the nefesh, ruach, neshama, will see that this is Hashem's hand. So Rabbeinu calls nefesh, ruach, neshama, he calls them light. There's the or of the nefesh, or of the ruach, or of the neshama. What does that mean? It's that this world in itself is darkness. Yes, in itself there's darkness. What gives the light for me to see this world with a light bulb, to see the clarity? It's the nefesh, ruach, neshama. To see that God is behind everything. I have eyes to see. I see that Hashem is behind this. Sorry, the other guy says, big deal, so what? He doesn't see it. How come I see it and he doesn't see it? Because I have emunah. The famous example Rabbeinu brings, Ephron and Avraham. Ephron owned Merat Machpelah, right? Avraham wanted to buy it. Why did Avraham want to buy it? Because he saw that this was the entrance to Gan Eden. He saw that it was the entrance to Gan Eden. Rabbeinu says there in lesson 17, Ephron, not only did he not see it was the entrance to the Gan Eden, he saw there was just a dark piece of land, and he was so anxious and happy to get rid of it. The Zohar says he sold it to Avram B'Simcha. Take it, I'm so happy to sell it. Take it. Two people seeing the same item. One, he sees light, he sees the entrance to the Gan Eden. How come Avram Avinu sees it? Because he's a man connected to the Nefesh, he's Baal Nefesh. He's a man of the Nefesh, of the Ruach, of the Neshama. So he's looking for these things. So automatically he caught on that this is a big place. This is the Petach to Gan Eden, the entrance to Gan Eden. Ephron is not looking for that. He's Afar. Ephron, his name means physicality. Afar is earth. He's stuck in the Afar. What is this? A piece of land. Take it. No problem. The exact same piece of land. Two people. One sees the light. One sees darkness. So Rabbeinu calls Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama as light. Because for a Jew, what brings light into his life? It's his nefesh. If it's his ruach, it's his neshama. When people are weighed down by their tzarot, by their difficulties, they get depressed and sad, and they get into futility, and they get into really dead end. There's no light of the nefesh, ruach, neshama in the situation. Sadness, Rabbeinu teaches in this lesson, sadness blocks the light of the nefesh, ruach, neshama. That's why sadness is from the evil side. Sadness is from what's called the exchange chambers. It's exchanging. It's taking you, a Jew, should be connected to the light of the Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama. Instead, we're going to switch you. The Yitzhak is going to switch you and put you in a realm that you don't see any light. I see just darkness and light. I don't see hope. I don't see this. I see only darkness. Right? He's now trapped. That's sadness. What's needed is to activate Simcha, and this Simcha will pull me out. Rabbeinu teaches in this lesson, where does the simcha come from? If now I'm trapped that I don't have the light of the nefesh, ruach, neshama shining into me because I've now fallen to the exchange chambers and I'm just way down. So how in the world do you want me to pull simcha to get out? If now I don't have light of nefesh, ruach, neshama, they're taking it away from me, putting me in a dark situation. So from where am I still? How am I supposed to pull like a rabbit out of my hat? I'm supposed to do a magic trick to pull simcha from nowhere? Where do I get the simcha from? So he says something unbelievable. The simcha for a Jew to get out of any situation comes from a level above the nefesh, ruach, neshama. It comes from where the transcendent levels emanate from. There's two transcendent levels, we said, chaya and yechida. The chaya and yechida, Rabbeinu indicates they correspond to a term way above a Jew. It's called Or Ein Sof, the light of the infinite one, the light of the one who's unending. There's two levels. It's Kabbalah. I still didn't go into it fully. It's going to take time. We're going to go back to this thing in this lesson many times because Rabbeinu himself in this lesson goes back to this Zohar. It's a Zohar basically, and this concept of the Kabbalah, he goes back to it again and again and again. But basically, just before we go on, these 5 levels of the Neshama correspond to what's called 5 worlds. There's 5 universes. And you have to understand the difference between it. This is the whole thing in itself. What is a world, a universe, and the sphera? You have 10 sphirot, and you have universes. Why do I need universes and sphirot? We know that the idea of sphirot is the channel of divine energy from Hashem all the way down. So that should be enough. Why don't I need also this concept of olamot? Isn't it enough that I have 10 channels? You know, Keter, Chochma, Bina, Dar, Chesed, Ruach, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchut. That's between me and Hashem, period. Why now this concept of worlds? Because worlds are platforms also. Each world has in it, the Kabbalah teaches, 10 sphirot in itself. There's the world of the Nefesh, the world of the Ruach, the world of the Neshama. Why do you have these worlds? Because you see in your life, we need these, what we see of the Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama, we need these in life. In the analogy, let's go back to the analogy. The act of blowing in is now like creativity. We're now starting to build a building now. Now a constructor, let's say a physical example. A constructor, he's beginning to build a building. That's the idea of the neshama. I'm beginning to produce, okay? And now I have hired workers and I'm paying them and things are getting done. That's ruach, there's movement, okay? The building is finally built. That's the nefesh. It's now settled, okay? This applies in every area of life. A guy gets married. Marriage, the beginning of marriage, is like the neshama now. Okay? Ruach now is now the act of procreation. Now we're building a house. I'm going shopping. You're going working. We're now doing cooking. We're now doing laundry. We're building a house. and then having kids, and then nefesh settled. My kids grew up, they got married. That's like nefesh. In every area of life, you have a stage of nefesh, stage of ruach, stage of neshama. Going backwards or forwards, whatever you want to look at it. These are stages. So each stage, the Kabbalah calls a world, a universe. There's the world of the nefesh, the world of the ruach, the world of neshama. There's 5 worlds, okay? They're called, going from up to down, Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, Asiya. And there's one above, there's a fifth one, it's called Adam Kadmon. These are terms way, way above. I'm not going to go into them, okay? Because right now, it's not shaykh at all where we're holding right now. I myself am not holding there. Just explaining how it's shaped. Adam Kadmon is corresponding to the highest transcendent neshama called Yechida. And then Atzilut is the level that we call the Chaya. Okay? And then we have Bria, which is the neshama. Yetzira is the ruach. And the lowest one, Nefesh, is Asiya, which translates as the actual doing. It's physically done. So we have access normally in our life with Bia, Beria, Yetzira, Asiya. Bria, I'm now beginning to make a building. Yetzira, let's start shaping it, let's start making it, building it, and doing. Asiya, the building is done now. So whether you like it or not, that's how life works. So the Zohar teaches, Rabbeinu is quoting the Kabbalah and everything, that these are worlds. They're called olamot. They're worlds. In each world, you have the chesed of Asiya, you have the chesed of Bria, you have the chesed of Yetzira. Each world has a chesed in it, has a gvura, has a tiferet. When you're beginning a marriage, for example, we're beginning building a building, there's complications. I need more gvura here, more chesed here, more netzach here, more hod. These are midot, attributes we learned already many times. I need more malchut here, more yesod. Each level has in it the pros and, in other words, the pros and cons, the ability to go out, to extend, and to constrict at every level. These are the 10 sfirot in each world. So there's 5 worlds, okay? They, by the way, correspond to the 4 letters of Hashem's name, Yud Ke Vav Ke. I know this is a bit of Kabbalah, but just general first, okay? In Yud Ke Vav Ke, there's 4 letters, but the Yud itself has what's called a Kutz. The Kutz is the 5th level. So there's 5 levels, the Kutz of the letter, the spitz on the letter Yud, the Yud itself, Hey, Vav, K, there's 5 here, corresponding to these 5 worlds, corresponding to these 5 levels of the soul. Of them, we have access to Hey, Vav, K, the last 3, that's the lower 3, that's Neshama, Ruach, and Nefesh, okay? All this now, going back to what we spoke about. When I'm stuck and I need to take Simcha, the Simcha that I need in order to be freed from the Hechal HaTemurot comes from the highest levels, from Adam Kadmon and Atzilut, comes, and that's called Or Ein Sof. It comes from the infinite light, the infinite light. So you may ask yourself, what do I have to do with the infinite light? I'm stuck in now a mortgage problem, a marriage problem, a parnasa problem, and I have failures in my avodat Hashem. I can't even get up in the morning to daven properly. When I wake up in the morning davening, I'm like, I only woke up at Ashrei, Potech et Yadecha, maybe I had in mind, and Shema Yisrael. What are you giving me, Or Ein Sof? So Rabbeinu starts his lesson off by saying, Hashem made it in the nature of anyone who possesses nefesh, ruach, neshama, and there's a light associated with them. They are automatically connected, but in a way which is unparalleled. It's called mate vela mate, which means there's a wall, and even though there's a wall, I'm connected to what's behind the wall. I'm connected to what's behind. There's something beyond me. It's like a vault. There's a vault with tons of money inside. So I'm here, the money's there. There's no connection between us. No. By spirituality, the light contained behind this vault, this super duper metal wall of 10 walls, 15 walls, I'm connected to that indirectly. Because what I have inside of me, the nefesh, ruach, neshama, they receive their vitality in life from the chaya and yechida. Chaya and yechida translates as giving life from the oneness. That's Or Ein Sof. Or is life, if you want to say. Chai means to be life and light. So the Or, Chai and yechida is another term. This, the Avraham Kaplan explains nicely in the inner space, is a term for Or Ein Sof. Or Ein Sof is chaya and yechida, which are beyond me. My nourishment of my nefesh, ruach, neshama, is coming indirectly from them. This is something we can't understand. How do I receive them? There's a wall. That wall, I'm able to receive, even though there's a wall for what's behind it, through emuna. With emuna, what is emuna? By the exact same thing. Emuna is there's a wall in front of me, but I believe that what I see is not the wall. I can see beyond the wall. You have Holocaust people, they saw terrible things, and yet they believe that Hashem is behind all that. They're able to hold on to their emunah because they're able to bypass the wall that they saw of destruction and pain and suffering and see that there's good behind it. That's how it is for every Jew, by the way. What enables a Jew to connect to what's beyond him is he has emunah. I know there's a wall in front of me, but with my emunah, I can bypass it and connect to what's behind the wall. So this Rabbeinu says is what's called Or Ein Sof. Or Ein Sof is like what it means. It's an infinite light. Meaning what? No matter what situation they throw me into in the exchange chambers, and I'm sent there purposely. The evil, they take me in that domain for their own means. But ultimately, Hashem designed it this way because if I succeed in getting out of there, I pull out a lot of sparks and a lot of good that's trapped there that belongs to me. I pull it out with me, B'ezrat Hashem, all these holy sparks that come out. How can I do that, Rabbeinu says, is by being happy. Where does this happiness come from? It doesn't come from the light of the Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, because I'm in a situation where I lost that. Where does it come from then? It comes from where the Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama are rooted from, which that is always connected to my Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama. That's the light of the infinite light, Or Ein Sof, and that enables me to be able to be happy no matter what. So Rav Nosson in Likutei Halachot, he gives many types of advice collected from all of Rabbeinu's teachings, how to be happy in the worst of situations. The biggest advice that he gives, believe it or not, is advice that a Jew, when he looks at the final end of creation, he knows that in the end, everything will work out like Hashem wanted, the original plan. I'm going through all these crazy things. The Jewish people are going through all these crazy things. In history, we're going through crazy things. But at the end, Hashem's going to have what he wanted in the end. At the end of days, everything's going to work out in the end. And there's no reason to be sad. My sadness I'm going is very short-termed. Of a death in the family, or a failure in the family, or this and that. It's all short-term. It's like up to maybe 100 years, 80 years, 70 years, even less. And even then, it's not for sure if it's going to be that long. But there is, beyond all this, the final simcha. And he says, Rav Nosson, when a Jew is able to focus on the end, which is the idea of Or Ein Sof also, because you look at the end of days, and it's connected to the end of the infinite light. It's like Or Ein Sof. There's no end to it, but it's called Ein Sof. There's no end, but it's the idea of looking beyond. If you are able to just focus on the final picture, that everything works out, you won't be so broken and weighed down by what you're going through presently, because you take what you're going through presently in light of the whole picture now. What I'm going through is like a dot. It's difficult, but it's only a dot. The whole picture is beautiful. It's like Rabbeinu brings the analogy in Chaim Moran of an orchard. You have an orchard of many trees. Someone who comes to see an orchard from the beginning of the park, of the orchard, wow, look at all these trees. He goes to one tree, starts examining the tree. He sees 1/3 of the leaves have been eaten by maggots and worms already. Another third, all the fruit are rotten already, right? Another third, the branches are dead because they didn't get enough water and everything. But there's part of the tree, when you look at the tree, it looks okay more or less. When you look closer, you begin to see flaws and difficulties. Rabbeinu says there, but the orchard is still an orchard. And the tree is still a tree. Even with all the deficiencies, when you look from the general picture, it's still an orchard. And he says that's how it is with the Jewish people and as a whole and in general, and the final picture. That in the end, even though a person has areas that are difficult, but now in the main, everything is beautiful. So Rav Nosson says, this is not a patch. This is the solution. Okay, this is amazing. He says, this is not just, okay, some chizuk to keep on going. If you do this, if you manage to be happy in your situation, and the situation seems futile and empty and dead, and yet you're able now to somehow connect to this joy from the Or Ein Sof, which is beyond the nefesh, the light of the nefesh, the light of the ruach, light of Hashem, because I don't see any light right now. I'm thrown in the dark situation, so I'm getting light now from way beyond, from the Or Ein Sof. If I'm able now to take this light, bringing me joy in this situation, not only can I get out, but I will extract all the difficulties. Things will all of a sudden work out where I never expect, like the story of the clay digger. His salvation came totally unexpected. And Rabbeinu says, you got to what was really his. He's going to start crying over the diamond when he gets more wheat, which is much more valuable. Why is this? Who be stupid to start crying, oh, I lost the diamond, I lost the diamond. But idiot, you got more wheat. What are you crying about? You got much more. What are you crying about? Right? Yeah, but I lost the diamond. We gave you much more. Do you wake up? Do you hear hello? Right? You got much more in the end. Right? This is through the Or Ein Sof. Okay? So now, on a more practical level, Rabbeinu says, this is the idea of doing whatever you're doing in your life to serve Hashem, to do it b'simcha. You can take all the garbage you're going through in life, and then you approach your davening, okay, another day of tefillin, another day of getting up in the morning, and going to the mikveh, and the person is heavy and weighed down. Or he can do what he's doing already, b'simcha, and if he does it b'simcha, not only will it lift up his devotion, but it will prove to be a breakthrough in life. It will prove to be a major changing point in his life. He's drawing now the light of Or Ein Sof in a situation where he's trapped in this Heichal HaTmurot, this exchange chamber. Now he's able to get out of it. And the salvation came from a place least expected. It comes there, and the situation is alleviated and healed. The situation is healed. Not just, okay, he has a patch for the rest of his life and he's limping with it. It's going to be healed. It's going to be fixed and rectified. The thing is, we don't do it to the maximum. I heard this week a very strong dibur from a Breslover, Rabbi Binyamin Knappelmacher. He said the biggest shame and disgrace we'll have in the next world is that we had such an amazing Rebbe like Rabbi Nachman, and we didn't take advantage of what he gave us. He gives us such weapons, but we go back to regular life. Yeah, okay, but but like, I'm not going to take it to the fullest. If we take it to the fullest, we can be totally healed, totally transformed. Really, it's not like an imaginary, oh, that's a nice story you're telling me, but it's not like that in reality. The reason why it's not in reality is because we're not following like we should be, and we can. It's within our reach. He says, hachmatzah in Hebrew. In other words, I lost the opportunity. I had such a Rebbe, and I could have listened to him, and I had within my reach such weapons that I could have mamash become totally changed, and my whole situation life could have been totally alternated for the good if I would have just taken advantage and appreciated and valued what I had within my accessibility. Here, Rabbeinu gives an advice, and Rav Nosson says over and over again, it's not far. Lo b'shamayim hi. It's within your reach. Whatever you're doing now, Hashem made you, whether you woke up 10 in the morning, you missed nets. So now, I'm gonna daven now, like as if nothing happened. How could I do that? I woke up at 10. I have the guilt within me that I missed now Sozman Kriyat Shema. I may have missed Sozman Tefillah, and I'm late in my davening, and I'm going to pretend as if nothing's wrong. So a person is eaten by that doesn't let him to be happy. And Rabbeinu is saying, no. The way to get out of this situation, to help you to become healthier and getting up on time and being who you're supposed to be, is as you are now in this situation that you're thrown into, your Heichal HaTmurot, to be b'simcha as you are, you will not just, bypass the situation. You will elevate the situation. You'll rectify it and heal it. It's an amazing advice. It requires us just to believe in it, to work on it, to believe in the power of positive attitude, which comes from the Or Ein Sof, B'ezrat Hashem. And with this, we'll stop. We should be zocher, B'ezrat Hashem, to take advantage of Shavuot, the cheesecake of Shavuot, all the mitzvot are coming our way, to take it b'simcha. We have Shabbos coming up. We have today Mincha. We have Mariv. We're learning Torah. We have many mitzvot on our way today, and then tomorrow, and then by the end of the week, and then Shabbos, and then we have Shavuot. So much coming our way, and it all depends on your attitude of simcha doing them, that can really, really change you in life to make a major breakthrough, B'ezrat Hashem. And the simcha was within reach. It's not far, because it's from the Or Ein Sof, which is with you always. If you really want to, just to believe in it, it's there. To connect to it is to believe that what I'm doing is what I have to do in life, and how I do it will change the whole situation, B'ezrat Hashem. B'ezrat Hashem. Chazak.
A few minutes explain about Shavuos, the Keser and Laka.
Not yet. We're not there yet. Not there yet. We're going step by step. This is slow. This lesson is very deep. I'm holding from just the first two lines of Likutei Moharan. You saw that? The or is called Or. That's all I went into. Just 2 lines. Okay? And even that we didn't do fully. I didn't go into what's Bria, what's Yetzira, what's Asiya, what's Atzilut, what's Adam Kadmon. We don't go into that at all. Why is it called Or? Rabbeinu calls it Or. Do you notice that? It's weird. You show this to a guy who's saying this for the first time. What? What does it mean Or of a Nefesh? What does it mean Or of a... We have to explain what's Or, first of all. And then you have to explain what's Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, and what's Ein Sof. All this requires a lot of explanation just to and then bring it down practical. Okay, it takes a lot of work. So we're gonna get to the Makiv. I'm not there yet. I can't give over to you yet, B'ezrat Hashem. We have to get there and then B'ezrat Hashem. But Rav Nosson has a lot on this Torah, and because there's so much, Rav Nosson really gives a lot of explanatory material to open up this lesson. And the most powerful part is Rav Nosson's prayer. Rav Nosson's prayer on this lesson is so down to earth on getting into Simcha. Mamash. It can really, and then he goes into the idea of the Ma'akev. Yes, fine, but this is a real power lesson to really get a person up in like B'ezrat. All right. Chazak u'baruch.
Thank you.
Shkoyach. Thank you, Hashem.